Story 1. Last winter, during the depths of a bone-chilling winter, I embarked on a solo cross-country trip to attend a long-awaited family reunion. However, little did I know that this journey would transform into a horrifying experience beyond my imagination. As I navigated through the treacherous roads, a monstrous snowstorm unleashed its fury upon the land, enveloping everything in a blinding white blanket. The resulting chaos brought traffic to a standstill, trapping me amidst the swirling snowflakes and a sea of frustrated motorists. Just when I believed my situation couldn't worsen, a deafening crash shattered the icy silence. A devastating car accident occurred right before my eyes, leaving me stranded amidst the wreckage for what felt like an eternity. Hours slipped away as I anxiously waited for the chaos to subside and the traffic to disperse. When I finally managed to break free from the clutches of the traffic jam, I found myself lagging a staggering 5 hours behind schedule. Exhaustion gnawed at my bones, eroding any hope of continuing the journey through the night. Desperate for respite, I stumbled upon a dilapidated strip motel, a faint beacon of refuge in the wintry night. Fatigue weighed heavy on my eyelids, but an urgent call from nature propelled me to seek the motel's facilities. Despite its visibly neglected appearance, I reasoned that it would suffice in my desperate circumstances. Pulling into the parking lot, I noticed a man peering at me intently through the check-in window. A twinge of unease crept up my spine as I made my way inside. To my surprise, a young woman of college age was also present in the room, her eyes widening upon seeing me. Curiosity compelled her to inquire about my solitary journey, catching me off guard. Nodding in response, I affirmed her assumption, wondering why the man remained silent throughout this exchange. As I approached the counter to present my identification and credit card, the man explicitly declared that only cash would be accepted. Red flags billowed in my mind, signaling caution. Nevertheless, with limited options and desperation clouding my judgment, I scraped together just enough cash, and he carelessly tossed me the key. Stepping into the room, a wave of revulsion washed over me as I observed its disheveled state. Dust clung to every surface, and the scent of neglect pervaded the air. My gaze wandered to the bathroom, a sanctuary I had yearned for after a day devoid of relief. However, my hopes were instantly shattered as I uncovered a mattress infested with bed bugs. The sight sickened me, confirming the abysmal quality of my chosen lodging. Aghast, I recoiled, only to witness a cockroach skittering out from beneath the bed, if the bed bugs hadn't already surpassed my threshold. This vile intrusion certainly did. In that moment, I resolved to flee from this repulsive nightmare. Leaving the room behind, I sought solace in the parking space, making the decision to sleep in the confined shelter of my SUV's trunk hatch. Cuddled up with my suitcase serving as a makeshift pillow and random clothes as a meager blanket, exhaustion quickly overcame me, dragging me into a restless slumber. In the dead of night, I stirred from my sleep, roused by distant voices seeping into my dreamscape. Blinking away the remnants of sleep, I peered through the tinted windows to find the man from the check-in desk engaged in a hushed conversation on his phone. Puzzled, I glanced at my watch, discovering that it was a disconcerting 3 a.m. curiosity mingled with apprehension as the night unraveled with eerie intensity. The phone call concluded, and I watched, paralyzed with fear, as the man stealthily approached my room. Without hesitation, he unlocked the door and slipped inside, disappearing into the darkness. The room remained devoid of light, and I sat there, frozen, unable to comprehend the unfolding nightmare. Minutes stretched into eternity as I struggled to make sense of the situation. To my horror, the man emerged from the room, accompanied by another shadowy figure. The newcomer slammed the door shut, his face contorted with anger, his words laced with profanity. A sickening realization gripped me. I had become an unwitting witness to something sinister. In disbelief, I watched their exchange, desperately straining to comprehend their motives. As their conversation grew heated, my eyes darted to the man's companion, questioning where he had come from and what role he played in this macabre rendezvous. A shiver slithered down my spine as the man directed his gaze towards my SUV. Panic seized my heart, urging me to seek refuge. Acting on instinct, I swiftly dropped down, covering my head with a nearby shirt, praying that my trembling form would blend into the jumble of belongings. With trepidation, I observed the man approach my vehicle. My heart pounded in my chest, threatening to give away my presence. He attempted to open the locked doors, frustration etched on his face. Undeterred, he peered through the backseat window, his eyes scanning the interior. I held my breath, my body tense, as his gaze brushed over my concealed figure. The tinted windows and chaos within the hatch provided me with a semblance of protection, a momentary shield from their malevolent intentions. Temporarily distracted, the two men ventured to the far end of the parking lot, engrossed in their discussion. My mind raced, grappling with the possibilities. This was my chance, a fleeting opportunity to escape this nightmare. Summoning every ounce of courage, I stealthily climbed into the front seat and ignited the engine, praying that luck would favor my desperate escape. The sound of my revving engine jolted the two men from their conversation. Their eyes widened in disbelief as I peeled out of the parking lot, leaving a trail of astonishment in my wake. Adrenaline surged through my veins. propelling me forward, determined to put as much distance as possible between myself and that malevolent motel. Hours blurred together as I drove relentlessly through the night, refusing to succumb to weariness. Fear and anticipation mingled, urging me to reach my destination without pause. The harrowing encounter served as a haunting backdrop, fueling my determination to outrun the horrors that lurked behind. When the morning sun bathed the world in its gentle glow, I finally arrived at my intended destination. Eager to share my ordeal, I called my friends back home, recounting the spine-chilling events that had unfolded in that desolate motel. However, wary of causing unnecessary distress to my family, I chose to keep them blissfully unaware of the horrors I had narrowly escaped. Weeks later, burdened by unanswered questions, I resolved to uncover the motel's identity. Armed with the power of technology, I delved into the depths of Google Maps and stumbled upon the motel's name. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, I reached out to the local authorities, sharing my harrowing tale. To my astonishment, their response left me speechless. The police informed me that the motel had been shut down merely days before my call. The timing was chilling, as if the fates had conspired to guide me away from the clutches of an unspeakable evil. Reflecting on that nightmarish encounter, I couldn't help but acknowledge the ironic twist of fate. The repugnant presence of bedbugs and the scuttling cockroach, as repulsive as they were, had inadvertently acted as my unlikely saviors. Had the motel not been infested with those creatures, I might have fallen victim to the sinister machinations that unfolded within its walls. The revelation left me with a profound sense of gratitude mingled with lingering unease. I couldn't help but wonder about the true nature of the individuals I had encountered, what nefarious intentions had led them to that forsaken motel. I shuddered at the thought of the possibilities, grateful that I had evaded their clutches. The experience left an indelible mark on my psyche, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk within seemingly innocuous settings. I resolved never to take my safety for granted, to trust my instincts, and to be cautious when venturing into unfamiliar territory. Months passed, and life resumed its normal rhythm. However, the memory of that fateful night continued to haunt me. It became an integral part of my personal narrative, a tale I shared sparingly, yet one that served as a cautionary reminder to those who would listen. In the end, it was a journey that tested my resilience, exposing me to the raw edge of fear and survival. I emerged scarred but strengthened, forever changed by the ordeal that unfolded in that desolate motel. And as I moved forward, I carried the knowledge that even in the darkest of moments, the most unlikely circumstances can offer a glimmer of salvation. So, the next time you come across a seemingly insignificant inconvenience, like a bedbug or a cockroach, pause for a moment and consider the unforeseen protection they may provide. For sometimes, even the most repulsive creatures can hold the key to our salvation, ensuring that we emerge from the depths of darkness, forever grateful for the horrors that saved our lives. Story 2. I was working the night shift at the Red Road Motel, a desolate establishment nestled along a forgotten highway in the heart of Wyoming. This small, run-down refuge consisted of only 10 rooms, providing weary travelers with a place to rest amidst the isolation of the surrounding wilderness. Having been employed at the motel for over a year, the monotony of my nightly shift had become a familiar companion. However, on this particular night, an unexplainable sense of unease hung in the air. It was around 11 p.m. when I found myself gazing absent-mindedly at the thick blanket of snow falling outside the motel's windows. Lost in my thoughts, I was abruptly jarred back to reality by the shrill ring of the telephone. Startled, I picked up the receiver, only to be met with silence on the other end. I repeated my greeting several times, assuming it to be a case of poor reception, before eventually hanging up. No sooner had I replaced the receiver when the phone rang once again, breaking the silence. This time, a man's voice filled the line, introducing himself as a repairman sent by the motel's owner to fix the malfunctioning vending machine in the lobby. My skepticism flared, for the owner had never mentioned anything about a repairman coming. However, the man's persistence and his claim of being just a few minutes away convinced me to grant him access. Moments later, a tall, burly figure entered the lobby, clutching a toolbox. He introduced himself as Mike and wasted no time in attending to the vending machine. Curiosity piqued, I observed Mike's diligent work for a few minutes, engaging in casual conversation before returning to my post at the front desk. The ensuing silence was shattered when a blood-curdling scream pierced the stillness, emanating from one of the motel rooms. Instinct propelled me out of my chair, my heart pounding with a mix of concern and trepidation. I approached the door of the room from whence the scream had originated, my steps measured and cautious. Straining my ears, I detected faint shuffling sounds and the stifled sobs of someone in distress. Summoning my courage, I knocked on the door, desperately seeking reassurance. However, my calls for clarification were met with an eerie silence. Uncertainty gnawed at me. Should I involve the authorities? Was this a situation that demanded immediate intervention? Wrestling with my instincts, I tentatively turned the doorknob and was astonished to find it unlocked. Pushing the door open, I cautiously stepped inside the room. To my surprise, it was vacant, save for the closed bathroom door. A sense of foreboding washed over me as I approached the door, my hand trembling as I pushed it open. What met my horrified gaze inside that bathroom will forever be etched in my memory, an image of a young woman, tears streaming down her face, huddled in a corner. But before I could process the gravity of the situation, the shower curtain was violently torn open, and Mike, the supposed repairman, lunged at me with vicious intent, his words dripping with menace. Caught off guard, I found myself at the mercy of his brutal assault, his fists raining blows upon my face. Fueled by adrenaline and a will to survive, I instinctively reached into my pocket and retrieved the switchblade I always carried for emergencies. In a desperate bid to fend off his relentless attack, I brandished the blade, its glint in the dim light serving as a deterrent. Thankfully, the sight of the weapon gave him pause, providing me with a fleeting window of opportunity. Mike, bloodied and disoriented, seized the moment to make his escape, bolting towards the parking lot, leaving me battered and bewildered, blood dripping from my face. Despite the throbbing pain, my focus shifted to the young woman, still huddled in the corner, repeating the same phrase over and over, "He's going to kill me." Summoning all the strength I had left, I reached for my cell phone and dialed emergency services. Within minutes, the wailing sirens of the police echoed through the desolate night, piercing the silence that had settled over the motel. They swiftly scoured the premises, searching every nook and cranny, but Mike had managed to elude capture. The woman was taken to the hospital for evaluation and to ensure her safety. In the aftermath of that harrowing night, I couldn't shake the lingering unease that clung to my thoughts. It wasn't until the next morning that the truth began to unravel. The police informed me that the woman was none other than Mike's wife, who had sought refuge at the motel to escape his violent tendencies. The repairman persona he had assumed was merely a ruse to gain access to her. As the investigation unfolded, it came to light that Mike had meticulously planned a horrifying fate for his wife. A search of his vehicle revealed disturbing evidence, an assortment of gasoline containers and a large bundle of rope, chilling reminders of the sinister intentions he harbored. A trial against Mike was a grueling process, exposing the depths of his depravity. Each day in the courtroom, the weight of his actions hung heavily in the air, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath seemingly ordinary facades. I attended every hearing, determined to ensure justice was served. Months turned into years, and finally the day arrived when the gavel struck, proclaiming Mike guilty of his heinous crimes. The relief I felt at his conviction was tempered by the realization that this chapter of horror was far from over. The scars, both physical and emotional, would remain with me, a testament to the fragility of life and the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. In the wake of the trial, I pondered the turn of events that had led me to that motel on that fateful night. Had it not been for the phone call, the scream, and my decision to investigate, the outcome could have been far more tragic. It was a chilling reminder that danger can lurk in the most ordinary of places, hidden behind a mask of normalcy. The experience left an indelible mark on my psyche, fueling a newfound appreciation for personal safety and the significance of trusting one's instincts. I became an advocate for self-defense and enrolled in courses to learn how to protect myself and others. I shared my story, urging others to remain vigilant and aware of their surroundings. As time passed, the Red Road Motel closed its doors, a haunting relic of a dark chapter. Its dilapidated walls stood as a reminder of the horrors that unfolded within its confines. Yet, through the darkness, there emerged a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the most terrifying moments, bravery and resilience can prevail. And so, as life carried on, I carried the weight of that night, forever changed by the horrors I witnessed. It served as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the courage required to confront the darkness that dwells in the shadows. But amid the darkness, there is always a glimmer of light, a beacon of hope that propels us forward, ensuring that we emerge stronger and more determined than ever before. Story 3. As I approached the nursing home where my mother resided, a profound sense of dread enveloped me. Each visit seemed to carry an additional weight, as if an unspoken farewell loomed in the air. Fatigue crept over me, the exhaustion of the long journey setting in. Realizing I couldn't continue driving in such a state, I decided to find a place to rest for the night. An old motel caught my attention off the highway, a flicker of relief sparking within me as I pulled into its parking lot. The time was just past 10 p.m. and my weariness begged for respite. Locking up my car, I made my way toward the building, its exterior displaying signs of decay and neglect. Stepping into the lobby, a strange juxtaposition greeted me. Despite the worn appearance outside, the interior boasted a surprising level of modernity. It was as if I had entered an entirely different realm. After completing the check-in process, I received the key to room 117 from the clerk, expressing my gratitude before hurrying toward the sanctuary of my temporary abode. Quietly shutting the door behind me, I hoped to avoid disturbing other weary travelers. I flicked on the light, taking a moment to breathe in the surprisingly clean room. The inviting bed beckoned me, offering the promise of rest and relaxation. I discarded my duffel bag in the closet and sank onto the comfortable mattress. In an attempt to unwind, I turned on the television, seeking solace in the background noise. The weariness consumed me, and before I knew it, sleep overcame my exhausted body. Several hours passed, and I awoke to an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. Thoughts of my mother flooded my mind, stirring up a profound sadness that raced through my veins. Restlessness seized hold of me, and I lay there wrestling with my emotions. The impending drive and the weight of the day ahead played on a loop in my mind. It had been too long since I had taken a shower, and the realization dawned upon me that I had left my bag of toiletries in the car. Since sleep had eluded me, I decided to seize the opportunity and venture out for a shower. Walking down the seemingly endless hallway, I couldn't help but notice the flickering lights, their sporadic dance mirroring the eerie ambience of the motel's exterior. As I approached the exit, a peculiar noise emanated from the adjacent room, a muffled cry that caught my attention. Intrigued and somewhat concerned, I hesitated for a moment before turning back to investigate the source. Cautiously, I crept toward the room, doing my best to avoid the creaking floorboards. The sound grew louder as I drew nearer, and with trepidation, I pressed my ear against the door. Miraculously, as soon as my ear made contact, the crying abruptly ceased, leaving me perplexed and on edge. A minute of silence passed, and with a lingering unease, I made my way to the car. Throughout my short journey, a sense of worry gripped me tightly. Something about that room and the entire encounter felt off, igniting an instinctual fear within me. Retrieving my bag from the car, I mustered the courage to return to my room. However, as I approached, a sight froze me in my tracks. The door stood wide open, shrouded in darkness. Peering into the room, I called out, hoping for a response, but it was met with silence. The flickering light from the TV provided a dim illumination, casting eerie shadows that played tricks on my mind. And there, in the farthest corner, I saw a figure hunched over, barely discernible in the darkness. A sense of unease washed over me, my heart pounding in my chest. Despite my growing apprehension, I called out again, desperately seeking a response, but the room remained ominously silent. Taking a step closer, I noticed a pillow near the figure, seemingly stained with saliva. As I strained my eyes, it became apparent that the person was motionless, their body devoid of any signs of life. A cold shiver ran down my spine, and a wave of horror washed over me. Instinctively, I reached for my phone in my pocket, intending to call the police and report the chilling discovery. But to my dismay, I realized that I had left my phone behind in the room. Panic set in, and I rushed out of the room, hastening to the front desk. Breathlessly, I explained the situation to the clerk, urging them to contact the authorities. Within moments, the police arrived, their presence injecting a modicum of security into the unsettling atmosphere. They thoroughly searched the motel for any clues, trying to unravel the mystery surrounding the lifeless figure in the room. Although not yet confirmed, the investigators speculated that the individual had been suffocated with the pillow. The gravity of the situation hit me like a sledgehammer, and guilt consumed me. Had I intervened when I first heard the muffled cries, perhaps that person would still be alive. The weight of regret settled upon my shoulders, a burden I would carry for a long time. Once the police concluded their investigation, I hastily gathered my belongings, eager to distance myself from the haunting motel. The news eventually reached me that the perpetrator had been apprehended and subsequently sentenced to life in prison. The knowledge brought a small measure of solace, knowing that justice would be served. Yet, despite the closure, I couldn't shake off the lingering shame and regret that gnawed at me. The realization that I had hesitated, choosing not to involve myself more actively in the situation, haunted my thoughts. I played out countless scenarios in my mind, pondering the what-ifs and the alternative outcomes. It was a lesson learned in the harshest way possible, a reminder of the importance of swift action and intervention in moments of crisis. From that fateful night onward, I vowed to trust my instincts, to be more vigilant, and to lend a helping hand whenever possible. The horror of that experience became a catalyst for personal growth, prompting me to reflect on the fragility of life and the impact of our choices. As time passed, the memory of the motel and its dark secrets gradually faded into the recesses of my mind. However, the lesson it imparted remained etched in my consciousness, serving as a constant reminder of the potential consequences of inaction. It was a haunting tale that would forever reside in the deepest corners of my being, a story of missed opportunities and the stark realities of the human condition.